Treasures Lost is an upcoming print-and-play adventure and victory points board game by Nukazombee. In Treasures Lost, you navigate through 3 distinct maps of an area, collecting coins, gems, and artifacts along the way. A game session takes about 20 minutes. A link to the Kickstarter can be found in the video description below. For this video I was sent a demo of the game, which contains 1 character and 1 area. The final game is planned to have 3 different characters and 3 areas, so this is a preview rather than a review of the full game. Please note that as often, I will be focusing exclusively on the solo mode in this video. In short, Treasures Lost is a fun casual game with gorgeous art. Strategy was a bit limited in my opinion, so it's not the game you'll constantly come back to, but something fun and light you can enjoy with a coffee or between 2 sessions of heavier games. I'm thinking it can work really well as a family game with younger children too. The game is very easy to print yourself with no complicated components to assemble. Just print the maps and your character sheet and you're done. You can then laminate the sheets or put them in plastic files if you want to use erasable markers. Additionally, bring some dice and you're all set. The art on the game is gorgeous and looks not too serious but also not childish. The colors pop and really bring that jungle to life. Designer Nukazombee is an art teacher and the sole artist on the game. It is worth mentioning that the creator uses AI in the initial concept phase of the game, but that all of the art is ultimately drawn from scratch by himself. This is not a video on the merits and issues with AI art, and I appreciate the honesty of the Kickstarter project here. That being said, I think the creator would benefit from demonstrating his creation process, because as I understand, the use of AI here is very minimal for early stage ideas, and I feel a misunderstanding here could harm the project for the wrong reasons. You're supposed to carefully plan the order in which you will visit the maps in Treasures Lost. For my first playthrough, I didn't really have any idea except that the lava temple looked like a cool final objective kind of environment, so I put that one in 3rd position. A quick analysis of how to collect points and the character's special abilities gave me a good idea of what I wanted to try and collect. At the end of the day, I achieved an average score for my first run and felt that game was fun but also very lightweight, which is not necessarily a bad thing of course, I'll get back to that. In Treasures Lost, you play as an adventurer who has to collect gems, coins, artifacts, and defeat enemies along the way. You travel through 3 different maps in 3 game days, with each round representing 1 hour. Your character has special abilities which will guide your general strategy. For example, Sora, the character included in the demo, is basically good at fighting enemies and gets points for defeating them, which is not the case by default. Enemies can usually significantly slow you down, so in general it's a good idea to avoid them, but with this character you can almost get them out of the equation. In the setup phase, you also get to choose the order in which you will visit the maps. The last map in particular is important because the game has a system where if you choose to spend additional time on a given map, it negatively impacts your turns on the following map. This side effect does not impact the last map, however, which is the one on which you'll basically spend the most time, so there is a bit of strategy here. Last but not least, you can start on any empty spot of your map, and I found that to be possibly the most strategic decision based on what treasures you intend to collect in your run. Once you've chosen your character and positioned them on a starting point of your choice on the map, each round plays the same. Roll a dice, which determines how much you can move, and move your character on the map to collect treasures, fight enemies, or avoid obstacles. Each round represents an hour of the day. You get a move bonus in the morning hours and a penalty in the late hours. Enemies and traps are obstacles that will slow you down. You can't die in the game, but defeating enemies consumes turns. Traps use 2 steps instead of 1 to be crossed. It's worth mentioning that the number of the die isn't directly connected to how many steps you can take. Rolling a 5 isn't necessarily better than rolling a 3, for example. It will depend on your situation. After playing with the Treasures Lost demo for a few days, here's what I think of the game. Treasures Lost is super easy to print, looks gorgeous, and is very easy to learn and play. I feel that the strategy and difficulty put it firmly in the casual tier of games, and that might make it perfect for you, or on the contrary, if you're a seasoned gamer, it might be too lightweight for you. Personally, after a handful of games, I felt that I had optimized my gameplay and strategy enough that there wasn't much more for me to discover in the game. That might change with more characters and more maps of course, because gameplay-wise, the system is well designed. The mechanics are simple and enjoyable. When I say that strategy is limited, what I mean is that seasoned gamers will figure out quickly what makes the game tick. In the case of the character Sora, focusing on sun gems and blood gems is pretty much required to maximize your score. That might be different in other maps and with different characters, but I couldn't verify that. If you then choose the right position to ensure you grab most of those gems in a given map, the rest is luck of the dice and collateral bonuses, basically. The game has a mechanic where you can play a few more rounds in a given map at the cost of playing less rounds on the following map. but I didn't find that to be strategically wise in general, except on the very last map, where you'll want to maximize your turns anyway, since it's the only map where there is no drawback for doing so. Bottom line, which treasures you'll want to focus on, which map you choose to play last, and your starting point on each map are the real strategic factors here. If you're a semi-experienced gamer, you'll most likely figure optimal choices quite quickly for each of those. This isn't to say the game is boring. As a matter of fact, even though turns are not very crunchy from a strategic perspective, they remain satisfying. Almost every turn grants you additional points or progress, which feels good, and because they play so fast, the overall loop is very enjoyable. It is satisfying to see your general strategy work out, to defeat an enemy, or to have a lucky dice roll, which allows you to get one more coin or artifact before moving on to the next map. The dice roll mechanic is also enjoyable, with each result having positive outcomes. Rolling a 1 doesn't necessarily feel bad, for example, since it gives you one free move and a reroll. Rather, some dice rolls can be extremely good in specific situations, and vice versa. I was a bit annoyed that there isn't really any dice roll mitigation in place. There were a few situations where I was surrounded by traps and really needed to roll something very specific. But ultimately, you learn to detect these places and work around them, so that works out eventually. In other words, Treasures Lost is a game with a very simple gameplay mechanic, but it knows it and it does it well. This is why at the beginning of this review I insisted that this is a casual game, and if that's what you're looking for you or to play with younger kids, I think it does a terrific job at that. One of my kids in particular loves to constantly do better on a given challenge, and I think this will be right up her alley. In conclusion, Treasures Lost is a well-made print-and-play adventure game which looks great and with a satisfying gameplay loop. You won't play more than a couple of sessions each time you get it out, but if that's what you're looking for, whether as a solo gamer or for a quick family distraction, this could be for you. If I can nitpick a bit, pledge levels are a bit expensive for my taste, so I'll leave the decision up to you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.